right over there, there is sort of an unmarked warehouse on a state road. I believe it was a private road, if I wasn't mistaken, called the Brave Cave.
The Brave Cave.
The Brave Cave.
Sort of like a dark site, basically. Just a lot of heinous things would happen, sort of out of sight, out of mind.
Being on a police force, being a politician that saw this happening and didn't do anything about it. They've had that in their books since the 1990s. How many people have they done that to?
How could they do that to us?
The cave as a site of darkness, or as a like sort of cavernous space that holds things.
Check. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. So this right here. Does anyone know what we're looking at? Yeah, right. We're looking at a weapon.
We ended up hearing and dancing to DJ Casper Cha-Cha Slide. And then right after that, a bit of an elegy of sorts happened with this, I would say, a very sort of, I would say a sad sort of piano ambient track playing directly at the Brave Cave.
And I pointed over there and I said, son, if I did something that bothered, annoyed the person that claimed to own me, he could take you from me, send you over there, and no matter how long either one of us lived, I would never see you again in life. They destroyed families to oppress us.
This device in front of us is called a long-range acoustic device, also known as an LRAD, also known as a sound cannon.
I want to give a little bit of context just to, this is a fairly complicated project. So as I said, Jeremy, installed a show at Yes We Cannibal in December called Going to See a Man About a Horse. It coincides as well with this Atlas project. And it also coincides with the Brave Cave performance that took place yesterday.
This device was created in around 2001 by American Technology Corp.
Our communities, those of us who are not at the top of the class structure here, our communities suffer because the money that could make our schools better, the money that could clean our streets and make our housing better, is creating ultra-sophisticated weapon systems that are never used to defend us from anybody.
It's used for crowd dispersal, crowd control, trying to almost shift the possibility of what these instruments were for. Jeremy ends up using it to not just, instead of using disperse, to be more of a congregation tool.
Police and law enforcement agencies are really good about reduce, reuse, recycle. So as they become decommissioned by the military, they get scooped up by local, municipal, state law enforcement entities. And so what would normally get used against insurgent populations becomes a tool of crowd control for generally First Amendment protected gatherings, like this one right here. What happens when you're being told to go somewhere at a volume that forces you to go whether or not you want to sort of move your body? That sort of brings to mind the troubling and non-consensual nature of sound.
What's really difficult to capture is how incredibly directional and relational this actual technology is. So there's really no effective way, I think, to describe how watching Jeremy perform with this, the sound is so kind of mutable and so active that any movement of, by design, any movement of this sound weapon really kind of changes the entire social field, like in that moment.
I used to go to raves at the Plantation Inn. If you're old enough, you know about the Plantation Inn. And that's where I discovered that sound traverses consent. When the bass would drop, it would take me completely out of my body and put me into something else. But this thing does something totally different. This thing is a volume knob, which means that thing, right, like that moment of sound piercing the body and the ears and engaging in long-term harm is a decision. And yeah, so the piece de resistance of this thing for them, not for me, is actually this miserable button on the side. This enacts what is called the chirp tone. And that is the tone that like this device is famous for. The the thing that bursts people's eardrums and puts them in a state of psychological duress. I want to misuse it. I want to use it in a way that opens up a new possibility for consideration.
Profound directionality. I mean, it is a laser of sound, and just the pinpointing and how you register that in a bodily way.
I get to negate the sound by doing this, and that gives us a really wonderful phenomenological experience of the
And
sound.
so what was once faced at us then got turned around to the Brave Cave.
Can I ask anybody in there? I hope not, but the lights are on, and that's here.
Jeremy turned the sound cannon, towards the Brave Cave, and there was this reverberation, but he also then spoke, and I found it very difficult to fully understand him, and I had a sense of this kind of like social, kind of like some breakdown, like in communication, or this sort of chaos that I actually found really unsettling, and that I've thought about a few times since then.
As it was directed away from us towards the building, it bouncing back off the building at just the reception of that, and how it actually became, I felt like the volume had been turned up, but it was just the dynamics of sound and the way it was scattered back at us.
That moment of turning the device around and having that sound hit the Brave Cave, and then the like sort of phenomenological register of like, oh, the shit hits the cave, and then it gets reflected back at us on two registers, right? Like I'm obsessed and sort of like use Plato's allegory of the cave as a big touchstone in my work to sort of like flip on its head the sort of traditional understandings and modes of thinking through knowledge production, and like thinking about what can happen in the cave. But that moment where the device turns around and it hits the thing and then bounces back at us is also a reminder that sound is material, right? Like that there are potential forces, literal forces, like that's physics. That's just basic physics 101. Even like this is pointing to sources of power that might be invisible, but still have some sort of material ramification, like low frequency. When that car rides down the street playing that bass, you don't see those frequencies, but it still makes the things on the wall, on the tabletop, on your body, in your body start to vibrate and resonate. These are sounds that you can plug your ears and they still hit your body. And that's really exciting when you're at the rave and that bass drop hits. But it's terrifying when it hits your body against your will, right? And so this does something really interesting to sound and its relationship to consent.
It's about discretion, right? So it's actually not a gun. It's much closer to like a pencil or a wrench or a baseball bat, something that like could fuck you up, but also is like, could be quite utilitarian. So utilitarian, in fact, that this is actually just an MP3 player.
If you or I put Brave Cave Baton Rouge into your phone, it's like you're ordering a pizza. It's open 24 hours. It has a 1.3 star rating. If you hit the link for the website, it takes you to the chief of police's webpage. Kind of like he's the guy making the pizza. It's all bureaucratic to create that distance, to push you away and make everything so procedural that it's really not oppression anymore. It's just what has to be done.
Kind of soften your belly, to kind of ease your mind, calm your head, say it's okay. Even though in the dark of the night, they were taking people here and torturing them. Now, and they had a stop and strip search policy. Stop and strip search. Take them to the facility, unclothe them, and check them for whatever they wanted to check without being charged, without being arrested.
And I feel like a lot of negative activity took place at this Black site, and it felt just for a moment that there was something else that could be situated there in its passing. So it doesn't even allow the present to be the site of power. But again, this retrocausality, well, maybe it can engage with something else that's already happened, and maybe we're engaging with the future.
And leaving space for that unknown, treating land as you would a person, that there's more to know from this place, from this situation, than you can anticipate, is a good way to deal with another human, but also a good way to deal with the ground. And I think that with that is an openness and is a curiosity, but I think also there's more power in it if there's space for not figuring everything out.
Right.
But if you're willing to go along with me and accept that everything out there is actually there's a much different story to tell. What's really needed is the curiosity to pay attention to that.
I support what you're doing. He's a warrior. Way guerrilla war works, you have engagements, you take their weapons, and you turn them around on them. Well, he did exactly that yesterday. We're nonviolent warriors, not just because moral principles constrain us as such, but because there's no way in the world you're going to meet a society that has mastered violence.